Hey, welcome everyone. Want to start by thanking all of you that are tuning in on LinkedIn Live right now. Appreciate you making the time to be on this roundtable with us today. Really excited for our content and some of the great speakers that we have to contribute to this meeting on optimizing and leveraging your tech stack for growth. So to start out, just want to thank Accelerate and welcome Josh Friend to the feed.
Michael, thanks for having us. We're really excited to be a sponsor here of the Innovators Committee and part of this webinar. Be great content, just hearing what everyone here has to say about how to leverage your tech stack. Again, Accelerate, we're a mortgage CRM, and we serve all channels, whether it's retail, consumer direct, TPO, wholesale, or recruitment. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Josh. Appreciate your partnership and sponsorship. You guys have been a great partner to California MBA for a few years now, so really appreciate the support.
Absolutely.
Next up, I want to introduce one of our lender partners that's going to be on the session with us, and it's Luke Ziegenmeyer from Infinity Equity Group.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. So Luke Ziegenmeyer, I'm the COO of Infinity Equity Group. We're a smaller IMB licensed in about 13 states. And so with my role, always very focused on, how can we manage expenses being a smaller player, but still have all the tools to be able to provide a great experience to our LOs, our borrowers, our ops, to keep our experience in line with the larger lenders. And so a big piece of my job is making sure that we leverage the tools that we have as efficiently as possible. So excited to talk about that today and see what opportunities there are to grow in that area.
Awesome. Thank you, Luke. Next up, want to introduce John Herring from Heiss.
Hey, Michael. Good afternoon. Thanks for having us here today. As you mentioned, my name is John Herring. I'm Senior Director of Product Management here at ICE Mortgage Technology. If the name of that company doesn't sound familiar to you, you may be more familiar with the product I'm responsible for, which is the Encompass loan origination system. So happy to be here today, talk about not only what we're doing in the Encompass space, but across a lot of our other products that are all in this next generation vein of technology we talk about.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being on today. Next up, want to introduce Tracy Panish from Partners Credit.
Hi, Michael. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me on the conference today. I'm excited to talk about soft credit pulls. Again, my name is Tracy Panish. I'm with Partners Credit and Verification Solutions. We are known as a CRA, which is Credit Reporting Agency. So we provide credit reports along with verification solutions such as verification of employment, tax verification, Social Security verification, and also appraisals now. So excited to be a part of this conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy, for being on with us. And next up, Mark Teteris from Optimal Blue.
Yeah, hey, Michael. Thank you. Very nice to be on board with everybody today. So I'm the Mark Teteris. I'm the Director of Solutions Specialist here at Optimal Blue, now a division of Black Knight. And my team are essentially the subject matter experts and business use case analysts that help determine the best fit of solutions provided by Optimal Blue across the full spectrum, from the product eligibility and pricing engine through our hedging and loan trading tools, as well as MSR valuation and servicing solutions. So looking forward to talking about some great innovations we've got coming kind of across that spectrum with everybody today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And for everyone out there, my name is Michael Guidotti with American Pacific Mortgage. I'm a SVP, head of production. Really, we're one of the top 15 IMBs in the U.S. And really, this content today is something that's near and dear to, I think, most lenders, hearts. And so really, really excited to jump into the content that we have prepped today. The content is really based off of the framework of profitability challenges for mortgage originators. How can upgrading, implementing to the next generation of technology tools improve efficiencies and, really important right now, the bottom line to what we're dealing with each and every day. So we have a couple of rounds of questions that we're going to go through. So we'll kick it off. First round. This is going to go out to our technology vendors that are on the line here. For your IMB clients, what is your next gen product and what benefits does it deliver to them? And let's start it out with Josh.
Thanks, Michael. That's a great question. I mean, for us, we're maybe not as traditional as what the mortgage industry has been used to, mortgage technology companies. We don't necessarily have a next-gen product as much as we have at least 2 new releases every month. So we have released several new platforms and feature sets over the last several years. That just doesn't slow down. So we aren't just releasing, one big thing every so many years. It's every 2 weeks you're going to get, new releases, and that can be anything from co-marketing flyers to a phone system inside the CRM. So we're constantly just adding to it. Now I will say we are redoing some UI stuff, which I think people are going to be excited about to be able to see this year as well. Sometimes loan officers like prettier pictures, so we're just making it look a little bit prettier for everyone as well. So that would be a feature set that some people might be excited about.
Awesome. What about you, Tracy?
Well, I would, we don't really have anything that we're launching per se, but we do partner with the bureaus. And then I would say the early assessment, grade qual, with the agencies, that's been a hot hit with a lot of our customers lately. So we're working with several clients on that program right now.
I think you got one in there that's a pretty big deal that you maybe you're keeping that one for a little later. So I won't out it quite yet, but I know there's one as the lender side that I'm excited about that we're just launching.
I'm keeping that one for a little later.
Okay, we'll save that one for a little later. That's a way to make sure people stay on.
Yes.
And one thing I do want to add as well is we really want to hear any of your live questions as well. So anything that you can think of that you want to ask the group on here, we've got some great contributors on here. So we'd love to take any live questions from the audience. All right, let's go over to Mark. What are you guys doing over at OB right now?
Hey, Michael, thanks. I'll echo a little bit about what Josh said, that, hey, we're a technology company, so we're constantly, coming out with new releases and doing enhancements and new iterations, as well as just keeping up with, we're in secondary marketing. So, anytime there's, changes like things in LLPA grids, for example, from the agencies, we have to jump all over that and make sure those are incorporated in the product and maintain accuracy and efficiency. But as it happens, just by timing, we do have a real big project going on that's coming out even as we speak, and that's on the hedge side of the business. If you know a little bit about Optimal Blue or followed our history, we were acquired by Black Knight in 2020. And a year earlier, they had acquired a company called Compass Analytics, very well-known, very powerful hedge provider. That, along with the Optimal Blue hedging platform, we've now made the decision about a year and a half ago, made the decision to combine those and bring the best of those together, along with the ResiTrader loan trading platform that Optimal Blue had acquired earlier, and really bring it all together in a comprehensive, really powerful system, leveraging all the analytics, the modeling tools that are part of Compass Analytics, and then add to that, the ease of use that are resident in OBSS and ResiTrader. And to do that, we started out with an entirely new UI UX. So we're really excited to introduce that product to our clients and then ultimately to the market at large as well.
Awesome, thank you. And next up, John.
Hey, Michael. So, gosh, what haven't we released recently?
Right.
For us, because we were acquired by ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, where they brought together under this umbrella of ICE Mortgage Technology, the former Ellie Mae constituents, plus Simplifile, plus MERS, plus AIQ, So there's a lot going on, sort of, as we look across that spectrum of products all pulling together under one roof. And I would say even before then, all those companies, one thing they had in common was we're constantly being challenged to innovate. At the same time, we're doing all that maintenance and update and keeping up with the regulatory changes and other things that our customers come to rely upon us on. So just to land on a couple of focus areas where we've been kind of putting out new products or features, if you will, there's the new e-closing solution that leverages Encompass and Simplify. We've put a lot of innovation into our Consumer Connect, which is really that point of sale experience. We recognize that as being one of those opportunities where it's your first touch with the consumer often, but it's also one you want to look at when you're measuring your expenses, especially right now when everyone's kind of tightening your belt. So, we were really happy to be able to bring to market a really robust solution that lets you manage that first touch experience in Consumer Connect, but already being part of your Encompass subscription price, your investment you already have in Encompass. That also ties into our Velocify suite of products, which we kind of bundle when we refer to as our consumer engagement suite. And that not only ties in what we've had with our CRM and how we plug in with other partners, but a lot of innovation in that area to do things like make it easier if you're a Salesforce shop to incorporate Encompass and Salesforce in a way that's really dynamic. Or if you're leveraging some of our new web-based UI, what we called Encompass Web or LO Connect, a lot of that sort of loan origination point of contact functionality is there today. So a lot of that on the front end side, kind of helping get business in the door. On the back end side, we've got AIQ, Automation Insights Quality. That is our OCR, document recognition, data extraction, analyzer tool sets that can actually take the data and documents, run them through sets of rule engines to, help, for example, measure whether or not what you have is consistent with what your findings are for AUS with what you have in your document packages. So that area right there is helping customers move the needle to track down and chase documents and know what they have and what they need. And then the area that I'm personally directly responsible for, we call Encompass Web, which is an extension of the Encompass use that you have today. It's the ability to stay on that same instance, have all your existing functionality you have today in your solution that you've probably highly customized or configured, and adding the ability to access it through a browser as opposed to needing to be there in the installed client. So those are all areas I work with.
That's it? That's all you guys are working on over there right now?
Not a whole lot, right?
Awesome. Well, thank you. Moving over a little bit to the lender side here, couple questions for you, Luke. I think, first up, what are your biggest technology needs from the origination side? What are you guys seeing in your sphere right now?
Yeah, I will answer that, Michael. I'm going to pick on John a little bit since he just finished. On my side, so I'm an Encompass user. Like a lot of Encompass users historically have actually looked for a POS outside of the Consumer Connect, but would love to look at it again. Haven't looked at it maybe a year and a half. So I know you spent a lot of time on that. What are some features that you've launched recently that you're excited about?
So some of the things about Consumer Connect that I think really set it aside is it's more than just taking an application from a consumer online. And it's more than giving them a place to upload documents and go in and sign their initial disclosures or now sign their closing packages, which is all incorporated now into Consumer Connect. It's the amount of automation that's behind it so that, for example, when you're working with that consumer through the web experience, I can get real lifetime pricing, whether that's going through the Encompass product and pricing solution or whether it's using OB. We can actually automate pulling credit, whether that's a hard pull or a soft pull behind the scenes now that the GSEs. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Did I spoil something for later? Shoot. I'm bad like that. It's running AUS behind the scenes. It's getting consent to sign things electronically. It's doing a lot of this work today and shifting it all left to the consumer without feeling like you're adding a lot of burden to the consumer to source a lot of that information and process upfront.
Very cool. That is exciting. And then one more thing I want to pick on, John, before I answer Michael's question is the Encompass web, because this is one I've been excited for as well. So, same question. What are some of the features coming out that you think are going to be really moving the needle?
Yeah, the whole point about Encompass Web is it's not just about taking what's in the smart client or desktop today and saying, okay, now you can do it from a browser. The way we look at it is this is the opportunity to change the way business is being done. So how do we automate more within the industry? So how do we have this solution that, yes, there's the fact you can get to it from a browser, but underneath it, there's this entire platform that is not only keyed for automation, it's also highly extendable. So whether it's through the use of APIs, secure form scripting, it's the ability to completely customize the experience. So even how the header looks, how your left nav works, what your input screens look like, all of that can be configured now without writing a single line of code. Using secure form scripting, I can actually embed sites into the experience. So it's not like I'm launching in and out of the LOS. Some areas I'm particularly excited about. One is everything we're doing in what we call task-based workflow, which is how do I really drive down to the activity a user or a system is being asked to do in order to tick a box or move something forward without requiring manual intervention. There's the framework we're putting into the new enhanced conditions, which is, picture this in a future state when we talk about having something like AIQ that can do document recognition and data extraction and running it through rule sets. It really opens the door to having these automated dynamic conditions based on the documents I do have, the data that's in those documents, or what I do or what I don't have. So there's this journey we're on to really bring more automation into the world, and it happens to be through a browser-based experience.
Exciting stuff.
Thank you. We think so.
All right, now we're putting Luke back on the hot seat. John, you've been on the hot seat for a few minutes now, so now we got to get Luke on there.
Perfect. So what was the question for me, Michael? Sorry, one more time.
Yeah, so what are the biggest technology needs from your perspective?
So right now, like everyone, obviously things that can help on the cost side. Very focused on the cost side. There's still a lot of crosswinds and turbulence out there. So we're seeing increases in volume, decreases in volume. It's really hard to find predictability in the forecasting. So things that can help add elasticity to my staffing is really important right now to help me be able to manage those ebbs and flows without going on big hiring sprees would be a big thing I'm focused on, as well as training and compliance. As everyone right now, we're all hiring. So there's lots of training needs as you're bringing on board new LOs, hiring on the sales side. And with compliance, more important than ever, a lot more eyes on documents. As things have gotten slower, it's no secret that investors are pushing back a lot more on loans. You're hearing a lot more about saleability issues with the GSEs. So very focused on the compliance side as well.
Yeah, and love that you touched on that because that actually ties into one of the questions that we got, and it's around, it's more asking from the client perspective. So is the focus on new tech on cost efficiency or more on risk fraud? I think, Luke, we'd both probably say yes.
Yeah.
Right, both. Huge. And I think in different areas, right? I think different areas have a little bit more focus, but I think you nailed it. I mean, obviously the cost efficiency just from profitability, and I would say usability, right? Because I think we can, from the lender side, and even from the vendor partner side, I think you guys would admit probably majority of your clients don't use all components, efficiently or to its highest, effect level, right?
Yeah,
So,
if I can, I think one of the things we see is, people may have found some really cool plugins or little widgets that, that they got a bulk of 20 at Costco. And, now is actually a really good time to look back at some of those and go, well, wait a second, are these things actually moving the needle for me? Are they actually making my life easier? Or are they just, taking up performance and taking up resources without really giving the bang for the buck against it? So it's the one thing about this time frame when things might be a little slow is, in my opinion, it's kind of a good time to reassess what you're using and what you're working with, and really ask yourself, like, am I getting the ROI? Am I getting my return on investment for what I'm spending on this particular widget or set of widgets?
Yep.
John, I think that's a good point. And I think as lenders are accessing that cost structure, I think something that lenders need to really look at is what I like to call total cost of ownership. Right. So you're a lender and you're using, platform A or, whatever it may be. And you sometimes think that your total cost of ownership is just the monthly bill you pay to use the software. And really, you have to look at total cost of ownership right now is, okay, well, that's one cost. So what does it cost me to run this software? Do I have consultants? Do I have admins? How many? How many hours, a month does it take from these teams? So you can understand truly what you're spending on technology. And I think some people are surprised. Lenders go, wow, I didn't realize it was quite that expensive. I thought it was, a lot less because that's what the monthly bill to the tech provider was. I forgot about, these 3 consultants that worked full time for me. So I think lenders right now need to really understand their cost, truly what their cost is to run whatever piece of software you're running.
I think that's
I might even piggyback on that as well, as to also consider, do you have a whole array of vendors doing different things for you, and are you comparing that to, what's really available on the platform that you might already have at the core? So we kind of think of it as, the secondary marketing solution from end to end. So you start with the product and pricing engine, but then there's things like where are you getting your competitive data and analytics information, for example. So and then how does everything flow through to your hedge advisory, and then ultimately the best execution analysis on your loan sales. So all of those things start to tie together, and so that's what we take that approach at Optimal Blue of, let's get everything in one platform, have the data flow through. It creates efficiencies throughout the entire system, and to be able to address the efficiency piece of it, and then you've got other parts of that kind of flow from that as well. So, for example, one of our recent enhancements is the location-based pricing, and so being able to capture every loan that you can possibly capture and understand, who qualifies for that particular CRA product that might be out there. You need to have an accurate system that can do that as well. And I even had a case where one really large buyer of CRA product, they actually rely on the OB system versus their own system, just because of the quality of the geolocation metrics behind it. So there's things to think about in terms of having quality, and then are you also able to look for opportunities to maybe consolidate vendors in some cases. So these are all things to be considered, I think, as you're navigating through this period of time.
I would agree with that, Mark, if I could just interject there. Just working with your providers for automation and making sure that you're alleviating that human error and you're being consistent across the board. But again, that one-stop shop, we work with that all day long as a credit reporting agency. We're consistently trying to come up with services and bundles to make sure that we're providing a cost-effective approach to our lenders' manufacturing process. Earlier, we talked about product offerings, and I mentioned early assessment. That's the soft pull that is now out by that we're allowed to provide. If you go through your Fannie or Freddie rep, you can pull a soft pull and run it through AUS for findings. So that does two things. It's a lower cost on the front end, but it's also alleviating the trigger leads. So again, just making sure things are automated and assessing your vendors and doing a one-stop shop so that you're overall saving on cost. Some cases where we find that our customers are using other vendors, we can take that information and reduce cost based on the overall volume and the overall package. So that's just another thought there.
Something I want to, it kind of loops back to not only what you were saying, Tracy, and also Mark and Luke before that. We're talking about the focus on compliance and risk and salability. And to me, those are the table stakes, right? Those are the bare minimums. If your solution isn't supporting salability, compliance, you really got to ask yourself if you're in the right game. But that's not enough. So to the other points being made, you have to be continuing to innovate on not only what's happening with CRA, but in general, what's getting more loans in the door? What's getting more transaction? Is it expanding your product offerings to HELOCs? Is it looking to do more around construction lending and construction to perm? Are you doing enough to identify affordable housing opportunities and making sure you're not inadvertently turning away leads or prospects because you didn't know that they don't need that amount of down payment for that particular jurisdiction based on the income they have? So it is pulling all that information together and helping expand the credit box, making it easier to do that qualification without triggering the lead notifications and not letting opportunities slip through your fingers. And then once that loan is made, making sure it's going to deliver and perform.
Yep. Love that. Well, switching gears a little bit here, we're hearing about all the great things, ways that we can leverage these great products. Luke, going over to you, what concerns do you have from the lender perspective regarding the tech upgrades or the implementations?
So to say what everyone keeps saying, cost is always going to be a concern. What the training is going to look like to onboard the technology. But so those are the two givens. The big things for me, though, are ensuring that the new piece is going to be worth the new point of failure I'm introducing into my process. So every time I add a new vendor, there's a new point of failure where if they have an outage, that affects my entire process. So that's a big piece. And then also just making sure I know how to measure success. So if we implement this new procedure, this new vendor, how are we going to go back and make sure that we actually got the ROI that we thought we were going to get? And so having the vendor help me realize the best place or the best way to analyze that is always a really helpful piece.
Yeah, love that, how to measure success, because I think that's such a huge component. And I think it's different. I think what you touched on too, that and I think for me really resonates too, is this a new product that's that's brand new to the market, that's maybe filling a gap that was there before, or is it replacing an existing product, right? Because there you have two different kind of, I guess, run rates there, because if it's something new, it's really around the cost and what it's filling, the hole that it's filling. And if it's replacing, you have to do the whole change management process, which we know, for those of us in sales, that is not an easy thing to get out to your sales staff. So I think that those are huge components. So from the vendor side, what implementation challenges or processes are you seeing in order to implement new products? And we'll start with Tracy.
Yeah, so let's start with the soft pull. The new product from the agencies or the new product from the bureaus is a soft pull that you can run through AUS for findings with the agencies. That's being a new product. I'm sorry. Oh, I heard some feedback there. That being a new product, it starting off with the bureaus as well as the agencies, it took a little time to get rolling. But now that there's several customers on it, I would say that it would be fairly fast to get that implemented on the front end. So it's just a matter of getting the subcodes from the bureaus so that way it's a soft pull, not a hard pull. And then just getting testing done from a lender's perspective to make sure it's all working and then launching. So technology setup should be fairly quickly on that.
Awesome. What about you, John?
Where to start? So I would say, for example, in things like the consumer engagement side, it's probably going to be a little bit more towards training the admins at first. How do you want to configure this? Working closely with the business to make sure that you're making the most of that experience and configuring it the way you really want it to be. And then I think you want to familiarize your users just so they understand kind of what the consumer experience is going to be when they're going through it on their own or with your guided assistance. When it comes to something like AIQ, that can be more life-changing, because now you're talking about bringing in a lot of automation around document recognition and data and testing. And one of the things I love to do, going back to the comment about measuring success, one of the things we love to do with prospects with AIQ is kind of like the Pepsi challenge, where we'll take AIQ and we'll take one of their most seasoned underwriters, go through the same loans and see where they come up with their results. Things like DTI, loan to value. And, it's real eye awakening when you realize just how much power in that AIQ system there is. That is not there to replace your underwriters. It's there to backstop them and support them and help them get back to being able to underwrite more than 3 loans a day, which is where, we got to get to as things pick up. Otherwise, to the earlier point, your only way of scaling is throwing bodies at things. And that's just not a good way to scale when the market is unstable as it is. Encompass Web, it kind of depends. It depends on how much you want to change. A lot of it, and what people may not realize, again, I keep talking about it being an extension of the Encompass you already have. It's not necessarily a new implementation. It can be. If you really want to take a look at the way you're doing your flow and your business today, and you say, I want to reimagine it. I want to go less of a sequential milestone gate process to a more task-based workflow, many different cogs happening at the same time or near same time, and then having stops at milestones as opposed to starts and stops at milestones. You may want to do a little bit more there, and you may want to rethink some of your user experience screens and some of your flows, particularly if you're going to do more automation. So to that end, I'd say it's a little bit of how much you invest in it is going to determine how much it changes your experience from what you may have today.
Got it. Yeah, I'm sure that that convincing underwriters that it's not trying to replace them, that probably is a majority percentage of time that's spent, right?
It's let me help you. Help me help you.
Yep. Love it. All right, Josh.
Yeah, no, I think one of the challenges I think lenders are having now or have had in the past is generally just the staff and the talent within the organization to run a complex rollout of something new. We have, as an industry, have been I like to call thinly managed for the amount of headcount and sales and revenue versus the amount of administrative or technology type people. It's not as many as you would expect. So just lenders having the ability to understand how to implement and roll out new technology. One of the things that we've always focused on from the very beginning was, hey, we have all the tools. You can build this all yourself, but we don't expect you to build this yourself. Why don't we build it for you? We'll show you what we did, and you can do it in the future. You're on your own, and we'll use best practices, right? So, we're working with lots of lenders, lots of transactions. We understand, what the measurable results, where you can, get pickup and gain. Right now we've been rolling out some of the new launches we had. Just like I said, we do every 2 weeks. It's a new launch. We've really beefed up our TPO and wholesale integration into the Encompass product. So that's been a lot of fun training a lot of new AEs now. And for that, a great example, this is something new. They haven't ever really had a mobile CRM with marketing automation that is built for wholesale and, account executives to run their day. But for them, it's really just been education, teaching them, here's the new tools, what's the, what you have access to. And I think that's a lot of times lenders need to really educate their people and their loan officers and, processors and what the tools they currently have access to. So for us, it's just education, letting them know, hey, I know you haven't been able to do this in the past, but now you can. We rolled out a new HTML editor for them as well, which in the marketing world has been huge. There hasn't been a platform that's allowed for that yet. So that's something that we are now trying to educate everyone in our marketing departments and teams and companies. Hey, make sure you use the HTML editor. You don't have to go build it on your own. You don't have to pay someone to do it for you. You can do it yourself. So it's just a lot of times it's for us, it's education, making sure they understand what new features have been implemented and rolled out to them.
Love it. Thank you. And Mark?
Yeah.
So just to kind of pick up on a couple of the themes there, it is about efficiency and in secondary marketing, capital markets. A lot of what we need to measure is attribution. Where are we actually gaining and contributing to our efficiency from a dollars and cents standpoint, and where are there areas to improve? So having really robust reporting and loan level attribution is an important component of that. And as we're rolling out our new Compass Edge hedging platform, the other piece that we take into account is efficiency, and that's always a continuous drive. But every single part of the workflow is, how do we do this in less clicks? So we can actually sell loans in as few as 6 clicks into the mandatory or the secondary market using the new Compass Edge system. Also, we'll be delivering along with this something we call Pool Solver, which is an AI-driven optimization for price for your loan pools that you'll be selling. It considers things like not only price and all the various combinations of spec pool sizes and so forth, but also any kind of de minimis limits, as well as other constraints that might be put into the system that can impact profitability. But the big drive with this, of course, is efficiency and having the ability to measure in real dollar terms the results of pre-optimization, post-optimization, and report back to you on that. So I think that's a powerful tool for capital markets folks to be able to use. And so, maybe I'll get to the other part of the question here, was talking about implementations, which is just to be able to take advantage of this system. One of the things that we've done anyways as a company is to really document the system extremely well, create a plan that rolls it out in stages, and keeps real good control of it so that the work is really being done by the Optimal Blue team, so that the impacts to the client are very minimal and really come down to training. We put together a whole welcome kit, for example, with reports. So there's a whole key to reports, how to use them, a glossary that goes along with that. And all of this then is delivered by the client services team over a period of time, while systems are running in parallel to do a QC check on every aspect of the pricing that's coming through the system. So there's an awful lot of thought and planning that has to go into it, and then take a very deliberate approach to pulling it all together and doing a successful rollout.
Okay. Well, before we get into the final questions here, Luke, from the lender side, what would you say has been your biggest challenge, within your company in a rollout? We don't got to say names of who the vendor was or anything, but what's just a huge challenge that you guys have faced kind of, in a real implementation situation?
Yeah, so I won't name names, and I'll share the blame, because we were half as much to blame as everyone else. But not asking enough of the hard questions and detailed enough questions up front during the due diligence process, really getting our team involved with exactly what their workflow needs were. And so you start implementing the new product, realize there's large gaps that you didn't think were there, or maybe things that you were told were there, but when you actually dig into the nitty gritty, don't work the way they were sold. And then that obviously causes huge issues. You have contractual issues. You now have these minimums and things associated to it. So it's been big learning lessons to us to make sure that we're really thorough up front. We get very thorough demos, and we get the people involved that are actually going to really use the product and get involved in the nitty gritty to make sure that it's really a solution that's going to bring us benefit.
Love that. Yeah. And I would second that, even from our perspective. I think with us too, with us having a little bit more of a unique setup with our size and also the number of DBAs that we have, making sure any of the vendors that we're working with, can support those DBAs, especially if it's forward facing out to clients and things, because that's one of our, I'd say complexities, but just understanding how that works within the various systems is something that I would say too, it was on both sides, but definitely making sure that we dial that in. So, all right. So heading into the final pieces here, typical ROI period for the upgrade and implementation. I think, again, as we're talking about, how important the cost aspect of it is, there's also, you have to acknowledge, you're going to spend a little more up front before you really see the true ROI, value. So let's kick off with Mark on that one.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Michael. This has been great. And from our standpoint, this new upgrade to Compass Edge, we made a strategic decision to deliver that without a price increase. So this will be coming up as new functionality. It'll be delivered into our customer database of over 350 hedge advisory clients over a period of time. And so, and everybody will, be able to see that well in advance. So the ROI should be immediate. Things like, pool optimization will help, certain sets of clients. There's also something coming into the system very shortly, trade assistant that will help optimize a hedge manager's ability to create their new position and do it in an optimized way. The system will actually suggest the position and trades. And so as that comes through and creates additional efficiency, we'll start to see immediate returns, but there's not going to be an additional investment on part of the client. I mean, we get it. Times are tough out there. We want to help everybody on our client roster to be as efficient as possible in this kind of a market.
Awesome. Josh, what about you guys at Accelerate?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Mark, depends on what features you're rolling out. Some of them, you're talking immediate ROI. If you don't have a intelligent marketing automation platform right now, let's say it can do digital retargeting on Facebook or Instagram or a social media channel, and then you implement one, all of a sudden, you get 5 loans extra that month. You're starting to already see a return on investment. Obviously, extrapolate the math over many more units, but you get a lot of pickup. Some of the things like, we've recently, we came out in the industry, we built a CRM was what we restarted with. We didn't start with marketing automation. We started with a CRM, and as time's gone on, we've had more and more retail lenders use our platform for their, distributed retail. We started building more and more retail tools. And, some of the lenders are seeing ROI, again, immediately just because of cost savings. So total cost of ownership, being able to have one platform serve all your channels. So that's where we've been growing and getting a lot of business, is people are now, using us for what it was one channel. Now they're using us for everything, recruitment, their TPO channel, their distributor retail, their consumer direct, their reverse mortgage channel. So they'll see ROI, using the first month, just because of the management time they don't have to have, right? When you have 2-3 different systems, it just costs you a lot more money to run those systems, and you're not going to get, it's not going to be the most efficient for you. It's hard to get great at 3 systems, right? Trying to do something out of it's a lot easier to get great at one system. So we typically, you're seeing ROI fairly immediately.
Well, and I think that total cost of ownership, I think, is a key right there, right? Because again, especially if you've got people, companies that are really good with their KPIs, and to your point, right, the scalability, right, getting one or two experts that can navigate something that's touching 3 or 4 different areas, you're gonna get a huge pickup just right there. All right, Tracy, what about with partners?
Yeah, so I'll have to say with what Mark said with regards to helping our clients, we really have taken the approach to work with our clients and reach out and have those deeper conversations around helping them, taking a look at their overall manufacturing process, like the soft pull on the front end. Are they utilizing that to cut costs as opposed to pulling a hard pull on all borrowers? And maybe just doing a one bureau on the front just to look at the FICO. We also have other technology pieces at Partners Credit where we can do an auto upgrade. So where the lender sets the threshold on the FICO score, if it meets that threshold, then it would automatically upgrade, saving them money. And then, just doing an overall look at what services we can provide to cut their costs as a whole. But to the question of how quick on the product of like the soft pull, it's immediate, and we try to provide as quick as we can with the increase on FICO this year and credit reports. We've been scurrying to try and help cut costs with all of our lenders.
Yeah, I bet you guys get those calls quite a bit, huh?
Yeah. On a daily.
You're right. All right, John, what about you?
So I want to go back, and one group I didn't mention earlier, and this goes to kind of the implementation aspect of things. We really try to have the right size resource for the client and the institution. So, as much as we try to do for self-serve through documentation and materials and collateral, we also have our support team and we have our professional services organization. And, for example, support, they can come and help do a health check, which can really look at how you're using the system today and say, are you really using it to its best of its abilities, or are there things you are doing that are limiting yourself that may have made sense once upon a time, but maybe don't make sense anymore? And then the professional service organization is more of a consultative practice where, we have people that know our technology, they know the industry, they know what best practices are, and they'll actually come in and work really closely with the people that actually have hands on keyboard, people that are doing the work in order to come in and look at what could be done to help you do that change management, to really look at changing your organization. From an ROI perspective, you don't have to take my word for it. We actually had an independent service, someone well respected by the industry by the name of Jordan Brown, go out and do ROI studies with Encompass users, and also he's very well versed in other platforms. And that ROI study is actually published on the ICE Mortgage Technology website. So if you just Google, ICE and Encompass, I'm sure you'll get to it pretty easily. And you can see what people are saying about where they save and how they save, depending on which components they're choosing to leverage, what makes sense for their particular business model.
Love it. Yeah, really the health check item, right? I think that's one of the biggest things that, I think collectively, from the lender perspective is it's, taking that day out of your business to work on your business, doing your quarterly alignments with all your partners, really taking the time to educate yourselves. Because I think one of the things is it's easy to miss, the release notes, right? It's easy to miss, new rollouts especially when you have things, coming out as quickly as every 2 weeks in some instances. And so really just making sure that we're investing that time to learn what people have to offer. Because I think sometimes you go looking for things in places and you got it sitting right in your backyard and it's like, wait a second, like, how'd you miss that?
Yeah. The thing that always gets to me is when someone gets, gosh, I wish the system would do this. And we go, well, wait a second, it does. Did you not see this? We released this 2.5 years ago. and,
Yep.
and they find out there was one switch they could have flipped and voila.
Yep.
It was already there for them. So that's another place where the health checks and PSO can kind of help come in and say, well, why are you still doing it that way?
Yep.
You know, I could maybe add just a little bit of that too, because it's been our experience. You know, we have expanded really since COVID started, I guess, and it was more difficult to just kind of get together. But so we do a weekly economic update that all of our clients are invited to that centers around capital markets. And then we do a monthly kind of deep dive into capital markets update. And again, all the clients are invited, and we're able to, at that point, you know, share out what we're seeing, what some of the best practices are, things that can really have an impact if you get a chance to think about them and gather in a group. And then now, fortunately, we're back to being able to get together. And so we've actually started doing 3 times a year, we'll do a capital markets forum at one of our headquarters locations and bring in, you know, all of our clients, but also our team and also outside experts. And so those are just ways to try to deliver additional value without adding any additional cost, so that clients can, you know, start to recognize and realize, you know, the value of the software they have. Because I do believe that, you know, once you buy the software, it's all about how much you leverage it, you know, in your own shop. I think that's really critical and something worth thinking about now and again. Right.
Yeah, love it. Well, as our final little closing remarks here, any information that our viewers should know. So Luke, if you're talking to another lender that's looking to implement a new piece of technology or one of these new you know, rollouts, what's your recommendation from the lender side?
Yeah, my recommendation, and I'm excited because I heard pretty much everyone on the panel say it, but is before you do that, look at what you have already. And so been very fortunate that we've had a couple partners that have looked at our account, looked at the features we're paying for, what we're not using, and they've reached out to remind me of those other features. And that's allowed me then to sunset other contracts as opposed to re-entering new ones. And that only just further kind of digs me into that relationship that I have with the vendor that showed me that path. And so that would be my encouragement, is just to reassess what you have and make sure you're leveraging it to its full potential.
Love it. Mark, what's your parting words for someone? What should they know about implementing a new technology?
Yeah, I think I really appreciate what Luke just said. You know, it makes a lot of sense. You know, the team I have are the solution specialists. Every one of them has an actual capital markets background, and so when we go in to talk with somebody about, you know, maybe coming on board with our service, that's one of the most important parts, is to conduct a thorough, you know, we call it discovery, but learning as much as we possibly can about that particular client's business model, what the use case might be today, what it might look like down the road, and, you know, what other things are they doing. And so I guess the you know, quote unquote advice, if you will, would be to you know, be forthcoming, share as much as you are comfortable with that vendor representation, so that they really do have a full picture, so that they can come back and give you the best possible advice and solution set that fits what your needs are.
Awesome. Thank you. Tracy.
Yeah, I would just have to say training. We have some amazing training, and there's so many folks that I come into conversation with that they're not aware of certain things that we offer. Just making sure you're taking the time to reach out to your vendors and get on board with some training and maximizing all the technology pieces that are available. Once again.
Awesome. John?
You know, I'd say take the time, invest in knowing where you are, and you know, empirically, you know, if you need to go out and invest in getting better data about your solution, your system, what you're doing, it might be worth doing that. Specifically, if you're trying to get from point A to point B, you know, really know where you are, know where you want to be, ask those hard questions, ask the pointed ones. You know, why do we do what we've always done? Does it still make sense to do it this way? Are we still getting the ROI? Are we still getting the value for that particular service we're added? And, you know, don't pull those punches when you're talking and doing your due diligence about finding out what you're really getting and what you're not getting.
Love it. Josh.
Yeah, you know, I think a couple of things. One is, I think just what John just said is when you're going through the evaluation process, truly understand what your needs are, and make sure you're getting those needs met, right? We see lenders who at times come to us, and whether they sign with us or someone else, we understand the need they have and realize that they're not as aware of that need, right? And it's hopefully if you're rolling out technology with a vendor, you trust their team, right? So if you're working with someone, you're rolling out the technology, you have to know it works best, but you also have to trust their team. That's kind of the second point. And the question is, do you? Are you asking the right questions? Do you trust their advice, right? They should be giving you advice for best practices, right? You come to us, we're going to sit down with you, understand your business model, but then say, all right, based off what you said, here's the features, functions, process flow I think would be best fit for you. Let's talk about it. And that's the kind of thing that you want with your vendor. You want to be able to sit down and look at them and say, my business, right? So we come to Accelerate. I have 24 years of mortgage experience. Most of my team has been in the mortgage industry, whether they were loan officers or ran mortgage companies. That was just, it's our background. So trust your team. If you do, ask them. You should be leaning on your vendor right now to help you get the most out of their technology.
Love it. And from my perspective, I would just say for lenders out there, make sure you're including the people that are going to be impacted with the with that rollout. Include your loan officers, include the people that are going to be in the field that are going to be impacted for the better or worse with that outcome. I think that's really important. Thank you all so much for being on today. Really appreciate you taking the time to help educate us and let us know some of the things that are coming. Thanks for participating for those of you that joined on LinkedIn. And we really encourage you to attend the upcoming Mortgage Innovators Conference. I will be down at the Hilton Anaheim, June 14th and 15th. Please visit mortgageinnovators.com/conference for more information. Look forward to seeing all of those of you that were on the call there today down at the conference. Thanks again for your time. Have a great afternoon.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.